environmental expert. She's joined us before as well, and she has very in-depth knowledge about these issues. Thank you so much for joining us again, Mome. Can you please now, what are your comments on this, the tipping point that the scientists are saying? Climate change experts have been talking about this for decades, and now we're actually seeing this manifest into actual events happening in the earth. So it confirms what their fears were, and now they're saying that there are 15 tipping points in the climate system, and they're saying 9 of them are on the move, and some of them, for example, permafrost, the Amazon rainforest, the Greenland ice sheet, the Arctic sea ice, and the Atlantic Ocean's circulation. They're all at that sort of on the move, kind of one of the tipping points, and this came in the journal Nature magazine. So what are your comments on this, Mome?
As you very rightly said that, already scientists had been predicting, and these predictions were not taken very seriously by the policymakers. And unfortunately, more so for the developed countries, because I think there's a very close relationship between economic benefits and then, so there's an inverse relationship between economic benefits and then environmental, well-being of a place. So I think that's why many of the lobbies, which were business lobbies, they were very active, and they kind of tried to sideline this issue for quite some time. Petroleum lobby is involved in that, and many other lobbies which had profits coming out of this, and they did not take this thing seriously. And I think even now, if you see 2 years back or whatever, like Trump, how he moved out of, he said he announced, and it was, lack of seriousness that was shown by the leadership of global leadership, I would say. So because of which a lot of things have not been done which should have been done a decade before. For example, the first thing is to shift your energy from fossil-based to renewables, which could have been done. Yes, there are hurdles, for example, scientific knowledge and all of that, but that could have been developed more profoundly had the private sector started working or investing in it earlier. But unfortunately, that didn't happen. And now the problem is that we have to work on war footings, and this is still not being realized. Things are being done, things are moving in the right direction. I won't say largely, but yes, they are. But unfortunately, this is I would say it's too little and too late for all of this, whatever is happening, because we really need to do, turn down the tap of carbon dioxide and greenhouse gases.
Right. Let me just get into a bit of the risks involved for the Earth right now. According to this article and the scientists who are concerned about this tipping point being reached, they're saying Russia, Alaska, Canada, which are the Arctic tundra regions, if those regions melt, the ice sheets over there melt, that means that 2 times as much carbon dioxide and methane will be released into the atmosphere, 2 times of what is already there in the atmosphere. So in that sense, then the Earth turns from a source of carbon dioxide, from a sink to a source, meaning that it's actually producing more carbon dioxide. And that has its own dangers. And also they've said that rainforests can become savannas. Stable ice sheets can become ice-free, meaning they'll melt. That can result in sea level rise all over the world. We're seeing what's happening in Venice right now. It's been flooding like crazy over high tides and all, and we've seen St. Marco's Square inundated. It's really shocking and upsetting. And
that happened, by the way, exactly after they had rejected this climate, I think, bill or something that was tabled. So they rejected it, and they had the impact right outside the door.
Exactly.
And so this is, and I would like to actually reiterate here that, a climate change is unpredictable and unprecedented. So the humankind does not know how to deal with it, first and foremost, because nature is too strong for humans alone to sort of tackle it. So we have sort of, I think, as you're talking about the rest of the world, I would like to bring this attention to our own very region, which is South Asia. And I would say that we are known as, because of the Himalayas, we are known as the third pole. And what is happening right now with us is also something that is going to result into water scarcity, that is going to result into a lot of those things, flooding, and and we already see a lot of that has been happening for the last decade or so. And so we have to actually, and 60% of the population of the world is in these areas, which is Asia. So we have to actually see that that the developed world has to do more in order for us to, of course, if they don't do much, then the population, 60% of the global population will be under threat of extinction. And anyway, it is said that climate change is, this is the 5th largest extinction that we are going towards. So what is really going to happen? We already see that not only human beings, many of the animals, many of the bird species have become extinct, not only because they have been hunted or something, but because the climate has changed, because the temperatures have changed, and they cannot adapt to the changed environment.
Right.
Even the trees, many of the vegetation is not able to stay under certain temperature, and the animals are related, or their habitat is related to certain vegetation or forests and all of that. So it's not only about forests that are going to go, but alongside, of course, human beings are just part of the entire ecology. We are not the entire nature. So we have to understand that it is not us which is the center of the nature, but we are just one small little part of it. But
and also there's a whole biosphere, there are ecosystems. They get disturbed, everything gets disturbed. And then that includes all your crop cycles, your agriculture, everything is interlinked. And
I think right now what is happening is also that because of the increased temperature, we see outbreak of new kind of epidemics, new kind of diseases, which we have not heard of before.
And those are in extreme temperatures. For example, when you have extreme heat over here.
For example, dengue that we talk about in Pakistan, that what is happening right now is because of the increased temperatures. This is also increasing the outbreak of that. So I think many of this has got to do a lot with human beings and their extinction. So it is time that and then I would say that yes, people would say it is not individuals who can change it, but yes, there's a direct link of consumerism with climate change as well, as I talked about initially, that there's an inverse relationship between economy and environment. So the thing is that when you talk about profits, you don't go towards green economy, which is to say that you base your economic growth on fossil-free fuels. So what happens is that individually, if I see, we can also sort of contribute on our level, but the bigger steps have to be taken by bigger polluters.
Absolutely. So